So, you've probably heard of the invisible hand in economics, right? This famous idea that people chasing their own goals can accidentally end up doing good for everyone. But what if I told you that exact same force might be at play in our moral world, shaping our society, our rules, and even our sense of what's right and wrong? Let's really dig into this. All right, first, a super quick refresher. Way back in the day, Adam Smith pointed out something fascinating. Think about a baker. Is she waking up at 4 a.m. because she has a burning desire to feed the community? Probably not. She's trying to make a living. But by trying to make the best bread to earn your business, she ends up feeding the whole town. That's the invisible hand in a nutshell. Our private ambitions creating public benefits, almost like magic. Okay, so here's the million-dollar question. Does that same principle apply to morality? Is there a moral invisible hand? Could it be that our basic social instincts, our need for respect, our desire to belong, are unintentionally building a cooperative, decent society, all without some grand central plan?
To figure that out, let's start with the good news. We're going to look at the parts of our human nature that seem to automatically, and actually quite beautifully, create social order from the ground up. This brings us to a really cool concept called spontaneous order. It's the idea that incredibly complex systems can just emerge without anyone being in charge. Think about it. No one designed human language, it just grew. No single person directs traffic in a bustling city, yet for the most part, it flows. The argument here is that our moral world can work the exact same way.
So how in the world does this happen? Well, the theory says it's powered by 3 psychological engines that are basically hardwired into us. These are the gears that make the moral invisible hand turn. Our deep desire for a good reputation, our habit of soaking up social rules, and our gut instinct for fairness. Let's break down that first engine, reputation. We are social animals through and through. We are absolutely obsessed with what other people think of us. It's not enough to just get by. We want to be seen as being fair, as someone you can count on. And this very personal, almost selfish concern for our own image produces an incredible public good, a society where people can generally trust each other.
Now, for the second engine, this is our inner moral compass. We don't just follow the rules because we're scared of getting caught, right? We actually absorb them. We make them part of us. It's why you might feel that little twinge of guilt if you drop a piece of trash, even when you're completely alone. That inner voice, that feeling, is what keeps the whole system humming along when no one is watching. And engine number 3 is a big one: reciprocity. We are wired to do 2 things: return a favor and punish a cheat. It's that simple. In fact, studies show that people will literally pay their own money just for the satisfaction of punishing someone who acted unfairly in a game. This powerful instinct for fairness is like a constant course correction for society, keeping cooperation stable. But, of course, it's not all group hugs and cooperation. Human nature has a darker side too. There are these powerful forces inside us and inside our societies that are constantly working to tear all of this spontaneous moral order down.
You can really see the core conflict right here. On one side, you've got the builders, our desire for a good reputation, our internal moral compass, our sense of fairness. But on the other side, you have the wrecking crew, things like unchecked self-interest, antisocial personalities, and a societal problem called anomie. It's a constant tug of war.
And here are the main culprits, the enemies of that moral invisible hand. Each one of these is like a different kind of poison for the system, working to erode the trust and cooperation that we all depend on. First up, we have the classic free rider problem. You know this from every group project you've ever done, right? Everyone's supposed to chip in, but one person does nothing and gets the same grade. How does that make you feel? Cheated. Well, when enough people in a society start free riding, taking the benefits without contributing, the honest people just give up, and the whole system falls apart.
Then you've got people who are just wired differently. Individuals with antisocial traits like psychopathy don't have that internal compass we talked about. They don't really feel guilt, they see social rules as suggestions at best, and they are masters at exploiting the trust of good people. Think of a charismatic con artist. They see our desire to trust each other not as a strength, but as a weakness to be used against us. And finally, there's this big societal force called anomie. This is what happens when a society screams at everyone, get rich, be successful, but then doesn't provide enough legitimate ways for people to actually do it. When the game feels rigged like that, breaking the rules can start to feel like the only logical choice, even for people who would otherwise be totally honest. So we've got this constant battle raging inside us and our societies.
the builders of order versus the wreckers. It really raises a huge question. Are we just stuck with this? Are we at the mercy of these forces? Or can we actually tip the scales? The answer might be not in trying to change our nature, but in getting smarter about how we guide it.
And this is a really crucial insight. Maybe the whole point of moral education isn't to try and turn us all into perfect, selfless angels. I mean, that's not going to happen, right? What if instead the goal is something much more practical, to help us understand our own destructive tendencies and then build the mental skills to keep them in check? This suggests a totally different way to think about teaching ethics. Instead of just memorizing, don't do this, don't do that, we could teach kids how and why trustworthy societies work. We could use great literature to really develop empathy, to make them feel what it's like to be someone else. We could show them real-world case studies of how a great reputation built over decades can be destroyed by one bad choice. We can actually teach people to spot and challenge their own selfish impulses. Now, when you start putting all these pieces together, it does more than just change how we might design a class. It gives us a completely new lens for looking at ethics and for thinking about how we build a better world. And here's the single biggest takeaway from all of this. The health of our society might have less to do with creating perfect individuals and a whole lot more to do with building well-designed systems in our culture and our institutions that are specifically designed to bring out our cooperative side and keep our destructive side in check. And that's what's so cool about this moral invisible hand idea. It's not just some dusty old theory. It's a powerful framework. It connects psychology, evolution, philosophy, and even public policy, giving us a much more realistic and practical toolkit for tackling some really tough, real-world problems. So all of this leaves us with one last massive question to think about. Maybe we've been asking the wrong question all along. Instead of asking, how do we make people more moral? Perhaps we should be asking, how do we design our schools, our companies, our entire society in a way that taps into this moral invisible hand and automatically amplifies the best parts of who we already are?